team coaches.
Well, if I was to sum it up, I would say the first thing is that we have to remember what age group we're coaching when we're coaching. Have a scoreboard or have a checklist of what you're going to go through, and make sure that you, as a goaltending coach, assistant coach, and head coach, know what the plan is moving forward. Um, the main thing is to not have to be in this feeling that you have to give everything all at once, but really make sure they understand the theme of that particular practice. Because if you go up to a goaltender at the end of a practice and go, what was the theme of today's practice? What was the purpose of the practice today? They walk out going, I have no idea. I was doing glove saves for a bit, and then we started doing 2-on-1s, and the whole theme of it has to be about, today we worked on odd man rushes, and I identified what a high the low odd man rush was. And when he's this far away, I'm going to do this. When he's this close, I'm going to do this. So you're giving them one or two different options to learn. So really understanding what you're trying to deliver and over what period of time, and recognize how fast and how slow people do learn, and the areas upon which or how they learn, like the tools that you would need and how they learn the fastest way. And then the next aspect would be to recognize, and I think what we need to do is change our philosophy on what happens between 5 and 10, and then start introducing the more winning category. And when you're talking about evaluations, we should have a certification for evaluators, so that we can teach them how to become scouts in the future. Goaltending coaches should take a goaltending certification course, not because they don't know anything, but need to know how to organize how they teach in a more appropriate manner so they can become more effective. Often I ask goaltending coaches, what's your scoreboard when it comes to defining who you are as a goalie coach? If like my scoreboard would be to see the least number of athletes and have the highest percentage make it. Okay, in order to do that, what has to happen? And that comes down to organizing your thoughts, making sure that you are really analyzing what your team needs and what your goaltenders need, and customizing your approach for your goaltenders. When it comes to hockey, it's important to work your strength with everyone else's strength on the coaching staff, and be able to know how you can contribute value. And in closing, the final part is, your mind, much like your body, needs nutrition, needs really good food to go in. And your brain, nowadays there's so much stimulation from electronics and things like that, that we have to be very careful what we feed into the minds of the young people these days, because I think we're too soft. The players are getting soft, and I think that they need to understand that life is hard. We go through difficulty, and we have more and more challenges with people with mental health challenges, because we haven't really taught them how adversity can help us versus hurt us. And I'll leave you with this point. Sometimes when you think you're getting buried, you're being planted. So you just have to really understand that, it's not always bad against you. You're being given the opportunity to grow from a problem, a challenge, whether it be a tough coach that Dave had to deal with, or a really, inclusive coach that Chief from the St. Louis Blues, now Toronto Maple Leafs, if it wasn't for his approach to opening up his coaching staff, Dave Alexander wouldn't have shared or been able to share an opportunity that excited all the St. Louis Blues the year they won the Stanley Cup, on players recognizing goaltender tendencies, and it got the team scoring again. So I think there's value in looking at someone and saying, I really value what you have to bring to the table. Let's talk about these and go from there.
Dave Marcoux, any thoughts, comments?
No, that's very well said. A very good synopsis there, Pasco, with closing. I think that is a great way to close things out. Just for coaches, maybe just to make sure that we are inclusive, make sure that we are considering in our practices, include the goalies. into your practices. There's too many one-on-ones for 20 minutes of a 50-minute practice that do not have any value for a goalie. How can you make that one-on-one all the way down the ice? How can you make it and turn it into value for your goalies? Or every breakout that you have at some point with 13, 15-year-old goalies, let's start including goalies in breakouts. Instead of dumping it into the corner where the goalie never handles it, rim pucks in and include your goalies in the process of breakouts. That to me is a very, very valuable thing. And I think we can conclude with that.
Well, I just wanted to mention, in keeping with that, Hockey Alberta, to their credit, they ask every head coach, they assign an assistant coach to look at every drill with the goalie in mind. What's the purpose of the drill relative to the position of goaltending? And they have added in every drill where there's a direct attack shot, an opportunity for low zone offense, or that low zone offensive play, a second puck. So it's a different positioning, movement, laterally, vertically, and making the practice goalie friendly. And even if they're talking to the goalies, I don't know. I'm sure at Tom's age, U15, you could ask them this drill, how are you going to play it? What's in it for you? What do we need to focus on? You know, our concern is with the coaches. Mine is they're doing 2-on-1s and they can't make a pass laterally because they don't open up and there's no deception. So I'm concerned with the skaters, not the goalies. So at the U15 level, I'd like to see more deception and speed in direct attacks, taking a shot, passing, look-offs and shooting for rebounds, more attention to deliberate practice with the goalie knowing that every drill can be executed in special ways offensively, and they have to be able to position. So, guys, I really want to thank you for coming on. I'm sorry for the technological delay. I thought Sammy Jo Small would be on. She did a 3 years and 3 Olympics and written a book called The Role I Played. She backed up for 3 Olympics. And quite a remarkable book about accepting your role, and probably from an internal leadership point of view, she contributed to more gold medals than a lot of the players because of her ability to inspire those around her, and the positive energy she was able to exude carried through to the team. So
undoubtedly, with that type of attitude, it's very difficult at the national team level. Wally, you've had many years there. They ask the question: can this goaltender be a number 3? Can they be a number 2? Can they be a number 1? Well, you're on a team of number 1, so not everybody can be the number 1 goalie. So how can you be the number 2, and how can you play the role of number 3 and understand those roles and how to switch those roles when needed? And that takes a really skilled and talented person. So what she has to offer, being in the third situation, is very important. And I'm sure Dave will agree with me on this one. And tell me if I'm wrong, Dave, because I don't want to speak for you. I have a lot of respect for you. I think telling a goaltender, even at the minor hockey league level, that you're the number 1 and someone's the number 2, even in short-term competitions like national programs, there's no need to tell a goaltender whether they're a number 1 or number 2. Their play is going to dictate it. And rather than peg someone into a number 2 or number 3 role when you're going into the final stages, you don't need to like say, okay, the next 2 games are going to be, you're a number 1, you're a number 2, because if someone gets hurt or if someone has an off game, it really deflates the other people. When you're in a National Hockey League, the contract dictates the number 1 goaltender for the most part, and they're usually going to be paid according to their consistency. And and that's what you're seeing with where Swayman's trying to acquire a 10-year, $10 million contract or whatever, close to that. So it's just important to be able to play those roles and move in and out of them very quickly.
Now, before I go, I'd just like to ask the two of you, you've been at it a number of years. Dave, longer than most goalie coaches and still at it. How have things changed in terms of goalie coaches and the game in general relative to goalie coaches and coaching in general? Back in my era, we treated them like targets. And how has it changed, or has it not changed enough?
Well, before I answer that question, I just want to follow up with Sammy Joe Small with her role. Just think of this one. Mika Kiprasov played how many games in the NHL, and number 1 guy, how many Stanley Cups does he have? His backup, a while back, Curtis McElhaney, has 2 Stanley Cups as the backup to Vasilevsky with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He will be remembered as an unbelievable player, an unbelievable teammate, and he finishes his career with 2 Stanley Cups when Mika Kiprasov doesn't even have 1. So there is that different role that I did want to use as an example also. Very, very important role on a hockey team. Having said that, we have a long way to go still, Wally, in terms of changing the culture, understanding the role of a goalie coach, how to utilize your goalie coach properly. A lot of the best coaches are former goaltenders. You look at Bob Hartley, you look at Jacques Martin, you look at Jeff Blashill. Those are all former goalies. Goaltenders and all the color commentators around the league, most of them are former goalies that read and understand the game from a different perspective. So to utilize your goalie coaches and to utilize their insight, head coaches need to get out of their own head sometimes, and we still have a long way to go, but it's come a long way and it's a work in progress.
Well, hopefully having everybody on and being able to do this, and I'm going to probably take the next 2 weeks to edit this. The first week of every month, we do meet at Cadence. So Dave and Boness, you're welcome to join us the first Tuesday of October, Thursday of October at Cadence for coffee face